Okay, picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, reach for your phone, and boom, you're hit with a blaring, terrifying emergency alert. A few minutes later, scientists are all over the news announcing the one thing they truly hoped they'd never have to say. Yellowstone has started erupting. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to walk step by step through a purely fictional but highly scientifically grounded disaster scenario. Because in just a few short hours, millions of lives could change forever.
Now, right now, Yellowstone is gorgeous. It's peaceful. Every single year, millions of tourists visit this breathtaking national park. They watch the geysers spray, take selfies with the bison, and just soak in nature, usually totally, completely unaware that they are standing directly on top of one of the planet's largest volcanic systems. Now, the good news is, most scientists agree, a super eruption is incredibly unlikely in our lifetimes. We are very, very safe. But what if tomorrow is different? Let's break down exactly what every hour after that might look like. Section 1. Hour 0. The warning.
So the very first warning of a supereruption wouldn't actually be some massive Hollywood-style fountain of lava bursting out of the ground. Nope. The very first sign would be earthquakes. Before the surface even breaks, the ground would start shaking violently. We're talking thousands of small quakes rattling the entire region as this unimaginable pressure builds up deep underground. Imagine your morning coffee spilling, trees vibrating, animals totally panicking, birds taking flight in massive flocks, while tourists just freeze in their tracks as deep, low rumbles echo and steam starts violently hissing from fresh cracks in the earth.
Section 2. The eruption begins. Pressure finally wins. We hit hour 1 and a massive eruption literally tears right through the surface. The sheer explosive force of this blast sends a shockwave rushing outward that flips cars, shatters windows for miles, and sends people running in absolute terror. But honestly, the most staggering part is looking up. A colossal column of ash shoots nearly 30 kilometers straight up into the atmosphere. It completely blots out the sun and instantly turns day into night.
When you trace the rapid, violent mechanics of this initial blast, it's just mind-blowing. We go from thousands of warning quakes straight into a violent surface breach and rapidly to a massive ash cloud touching the edge of the stratosphere. This sequence really highlights just how unbelievably fast and massive the initial eruption is. It's a scale of destruction that's almost hard to wrap your head around, and it all happens in a matter of minutes.
All right, let's move to hour 2 and see how this builds into an immediate localized nightmare.
At hour 2, pyroclastic flows start racing through the surrounding forests. If you aren't familiar, these are incredibly dense, toxic clouds of gas and volcanic matter burning at hundreds of degrees Celsius, and they move at literal highway speeds. You absolutely cannot outrun a pyroclastic flow. Roads disappear, buildings are vaporized, and ancient trees are just flattened instantly. Honestly, anyone caught anywhere near its direct path would have almost zero chance of survival, leaving behind nothing but silhouettes in the settling ash. It is, without a doubt, the absolute deadliest immediate threat in the blast zone.
Section 3. The ash spreads. Continental impact.
Fast forward just a bit to hour 3. Within just 3 hours, ash is already falling hundreds of kilometers away. The entire state of Wyoming, completely smothered. Cities get so dark that automated streetlights actually kick on in the middle of the day. People have to wear masks just to breathe. Planes are instantly grounded, highways grind to a complete halt, and hospitals begin to overload. The basic infrastructure we rely on just immediately fails. Engines choke and die trying to process that thick, gritty air, and the electrical grids start going out across the whole region.
By hour 6, this scales up dramatically. That huge ash cloud is now spreading across a massive chunk of North America. Entire states are just disappearing under a blanket of gray. Air travel across the whole continent is now severely disrupted, with airports everywhere locking their doors. And emergency services, they are deeply, deeply struggling to respond to crises as the ash just relentlessly piles up on the roads.
Jumping ahead to hour 12, the heavy ash has now reached major metropolitan cities far from the initial blast. Skyscrapers are caked in a gray film, and traffic is at a total standstill. Governments are forced to declare national emergencies as millions of people attempt to evacuate, which just leads to chaotic gridlock everywhere. With people sheltering indoors, hospitals overflowing, and supermarkets totally clearing out, we're seeing the very real beginning of vast supply chains completely breaking down.
And that brings us to hour 24. If you were looking down at Earth from space, you'd just see this monstrous ash cloud dominating the North American continent. The sun looks noticeably dimmer through the atmosphere. Vast agricultural fields are smothered and vibrant cities are rendered utterly gray and silent. By the end of just the first day, this eruption has completely transformed daily life across vast areas of the continent. And the really scary reality here? Recovering from just this first 24 hours would take years, if not decades.
Section 4. Global consequences. Beyond North America.
This really highlights the crazy contrast in how the planet would experience an event like this. While North America takes the immediate physical hit, literally buried in ash with broken supply chains and halted travel, the rest of the globe faces massive atmospheric shifts. If enough of that ash and sulfur reaches the upper atmosphere, global temperatures could actually drop noticeably. And because of that sudden shift in climate and reduced sunlight, crop yields could suffer immensely in regions all over the globe, though exactly how bad it gets would depend on the final size and length of the eruption.
Pulling this all together, just think about the terrifying speed of that first day. We started at hour 0 with warning quakes. By hour 1, a 30-kilometer-high ash column. Hour 2 brought the unsurvivable pyroclastic flow, and by hour 24, vast ash coverage is altering life as we know it across an entire continent. It is a breathtakingly fast escalation of a catastrophic event, all mapped out in one cohesive timeline.
Section 5. A reassuring reality. Continuous monitoring. Okay, let's all just take a collective deep breath. Send your thoughts back to the real, peaceful Yellowstone. The birds chirping, the steam gently rising from the hot springs, the happy families. The reality is that Yellowstone is continuously and rigorously monitored by scientists around the clock. Right now, there is absolutely zero evidence that a catastrophic eruption is about to happen. Everything we've covered in today's explainer is purely a hypothetical scenario based on current scientific understanding. It is definitely not a prediction for tomorrow.
You know, it's worth remembering that sometimes the most fascinating stories are the ones we hope never actually become reality. Science allows us to safely explore these immense, world-altering scenarios, giving us a really profound respect for the incredible power of our planet, thankfully without actually having to live through the nightmare.
Which brings us to the end of our hypothetical journey today. So, I leave you with this final provocative thought. What should we explore next? What if the Earth just stopped spinning entirely? Or what if the moon suddenly disappeared from our sky? The universe is packed with complex mysteries and dramatic what-ifs, and we are just getting started. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.